Turkey's economy is facing a difficult period. The country is grappling with slow economic growth, high unemployment, and soaring inflation. These problems are impacting the lives of ordinary Turkish citizens. One of the most pressing issues is the slowdown in economic growth. Turkey's GDP has been volatile in recent years. After a period of strong growth, the economy has slowed down considerably. This slowdown is a cause for concern for businesses and investors. Another major challenge is high unemployment. Many Turks are struggling to find jobs, particularly young people. The unemployment rate for youth is significantly higher than the national average. Adding to the economic woes is soaring inflation. The prices of goods and services have been rising rapidly, eroding the purchasing power of Turkish citizens. Families are having to cut back on spending, and businesses are struggling to cope with rising costs. The economic slowdown is casting a shadow over the country's future. Turkey's economic slowdown is a complex issue with deep roots. One key factor is the country's over-reliance on consumption-driven growth. This model is unsustainable in the long run, leaving the economy vulnerable to external shocks. Another contributing factor is the lack of investment in key sectors such as technology, infrastructure, and education. Without sufficient investment, it is difficult for an economy to innovate and compete globally. The volatility of Turkey's GDP growth indicates these underlying structural issues. To address these challenges, Turkey needs comprehensive structural reforms. This includes diversifying its economy and investing heavily in education, research, and development. The unemployment rate in Turkey paints a bleak picture, particularly for young people. The overall unemployment rate has been stubbornly high for years, hovering around 10 to 12%. This situation is even direr for young Turks, with youth unemployment rates exceeding 20%. Several factors contribute to Turkey's high unemployment rates. One key factor is the slow economic growth. When the economy is not expanding, businesses are less likely to hire new employees. Another contributing factor is the structure of the Turkish economy itself. A large portion of the workforce is employed in the informal sector, characterized by low wages and lack of job security. The high youth unemployment rate suggests that young people are not acquiring the skills needed to succeed in the modern workforce. This can lead to a lost generation of young people trapped in low-paying jobs. This situation has negative implications for social mobility and the country's long-term prospects. Inflation has been a persistent problem in Turkey, eroding the purchasing power of Turkish citizens. In recent years, the country has experienced alarmingly high inflation rates, reaching over 80% in 2022. While inflation has moderated somewhat, it remains in the double digits. Several factors contribute to Turkey's persistent inflation. One primary driver is the depreciation of the Turkish lira. As the lira loses value, the cost of imported goods increases significantly. These higher import costs are then passed on to consumers, fueling inflation. Another contributing factor is the central bank's monetary policy. The impacts of high inflation are felt across Turkish society. Consumers see their purchasing power diminish as wages fail to keep up with rising costs. Businesses struggle with rising input costs, squeezing their profit margins and potentially leading to job losses. Turkey's economic woes are further compounded by its growing debt burden. The country's debt-to-GDP ratio has been steadily increasing in recent years. This rising debt level raises concerns about the sustainability of Turkey's public finances. A significant portion of the country's debt is denominated in foreign currencies, exposing Turkey to currency risk. The private sector also faces a growing debt burden. Many Turkish companies have borrowed heavily in foreign currencies. As the lira has depreciated, these companies have found it increasingly difficult to repay their debts. The high level of debt limits the government's ability to respond to economic shocks. With a significant portion of government revenue going towards debt servicing, there is less fiscal space for essential public spending. This limits the government's ability to invest in the future and address structural issues hindering economic growth. Turkey's economy is also facing headwinds from external pressures and uncertainties. One major external pressure comes from the depreciation of the Turkish lira. The lira has lost significant value against major currencies, driven by political uncertainty and global economic conditions. This currency depreciation has fueled inflation and increased the cost of servicing foreign currency-denominated debt. Another external challenge is Turkey's persistent current account deficit. This deficit indicates that the country imports more goods and services than it exports. Political uncertainty also weighs on the Turkish economy, deterring foreign investment. This uncertainty makes it more difficult for businesses to plan for the future and can hinder long-term economic growth. Turkey faces significant economic challenges, but the situation is not without hope. Addressing these challenges will require a multi-pronged approach focused on short-term stabilization measures and long-term structural reforms. In the short term, policymakers must prioritize bringing inflation under control. This will likely require a combination of tighter monetary policy and fiscal discipline. Restoring confidence in the Turkish lira is also crucial to stabilize the currency. Looking ahead, Turkey needs to address the underlying structural issues holding back its economy. This includes diversifying its economy towards higher value-added sectors. Attracting foreign direct investment is essential to support this diversification effort. Investing in education and developing a skilled workforce is crucial to support the transition to a more knowledge-based economy. By addressing both the immediate challenges and the underlying structural issues, Turkey can chart a course towards sustainable and inclusive economic growth.